Welcome back to 20 Side Adventures. My name's Ryan and I am your game master of this channel. It's been a little bit since I put a video up. Life's been really busy, had some technical problems, finally got a new mic, and I've just been really engrossed in other things, but I'm trying to get back here to make some content for you guys. So this one in particular is perhaps, if like me, you've taken your eye off of what Paizo's been putting out, you're not sure what new content there is, and you're curious how Pathfinder has changed. I'm going to take you through Archives of Nethys, how to keep tabs on what has come up new, and something maybe a lot of players may not be familiar with. If you do not play adventure paths in Paizo, you probably don't pay a whole lot of attention to them, but maybe you should, because inside these adventure paths are updates to the game itself, including archetypes, feats for existing classes, ancestry feats, equipment, and a wide variety of other tools you can utilize in your game that are released as content inside adventure paths. And because Paizo is pretty cool and Archives of Nethys is awesome, you can get access to all of that non-particular to the story and adventure path content on the archives. So you can play that archetype dedication, you can use those monsters, you can add that equipment in for your adventures. So if you're not sure how to find that on archives or how to keep tabs on it, this will be the video for you. Let's jump right into it. Alright, well, we are on our favorite website here, Archives of Nethys, and this is the homepage. And if you're like me, most of the time, I just click through and search or grab whatever I need. But if you just slow down a moment, you'll get a list here of all of the updates that have happened on the website. As you can see here, new books. These are all adventure paths. I don't play adventure paths. I don't play in Galarian. Why do I care? Well, because sometimes there's cool stuff in these. So let's check out what was updated and has been coming out in the adventure path world. So on this one, Pact Binder, you get a new archetype right out of the gate. The Verduran Shadow Dedication. Let's see what this is all about. So fully developed archetype here, level 12 feats it looks like. And these are all about being that kind of foresty, primal, defend the wilderness, sneaky kind of character. Something maybe like a Way Watcher from Warhammer, if you're familiar with that. So what do you get out the gate? You get this dedication where your awareness of primal energies allows you to explore forests with preternatural ease. I don't even know what that means. Someone look that up. You become an expert in survival, so any archetype that gives you a free expert is pretty cool in my opinion. You can substitute your proficiency in survival for your proficiency in stealth when meeting feat prerequisites and gaining additional benefits from feats for being an expert, master, or legendary in stealth. However, unless you also fulfill the stealth prerequisite, you can only use those feats in forest terrain. So basically, your survival becomes your stealth. You can take any feats that require a skill level in stealth using your survival, but they only work when you're in the forest. Let's see, you can't select another dedication, yada yada, that's all similar. Some very particulars to this one, Canopy Predator. You gain a climb speed of 15, which is pretty cool because clearly you're going to be moving through the trees a lot. Whenever you succeed in an athletics check to climb a tree or an acrobatics check to balance on a branch, you get a critical success instead. You aren't off guard while climbing or balancing on a tree. So if you're moving through the trees, you are good to go. You do need to be trained in athletics to use this. Underbrush Trailblazer. You gain the Terrain Stalker feat, selecting Underbrush as your terrain. If you already have this, you can select another one. If you avoid notice while exploring, and if any allies use Follow the Expert to follow you as you do so, you can extend your Terrain Stalker feat benefits to one ally as long as they remain within 10 feet of you. Pretty cool. Fleeting Shadow from the Scout dedication. Not going to run into that because it's not new. You get Sneak Attacker from the Rogue dedication. We should all know what that is. You get sneak attack damage. Verduran Ambush. This is a level 6. You prepare to ambush your foe. You ready an activity that takes 2 actions. So this lets you ready 2 action activities. However, That activity must be either death from above or an activity with the requirement that you be hidden or undetected by your opponents, such as Scout's Pounce. So it's not you get to ready any 2 action, you get to ready one you can't take yet. So clearly this is some buildup. Or if you have some others, maybe from the sniper dedication or things like that, that are going to let you do 2 action attacks with a ready while you are hidden. Death from above, as previously mentioned. This one is kind of what it sounds like. You're going to get to leap down on your target. You're going to use your athletics to attempt to drop into the opponent. And if you succeed, they're off guard until the beginning of your next turn. If you critically succeed, you knock them prone. You get your fall damage reduced. And you get to make a melee strike. And that strike gains the deadly D8. And you get to do a little bit of damage for landing on them. So you're probably going to have a really high athletics build with this. You're going to get to jump on them. This will attempt to, in the best case scenario, knock them prone, get a free strike, gain deadly 8 on your weapons, and deal fall damage to them. So quite a bit that can happen from this forestry ambush. Scout's Pounce, which is from the Scout dedication that's also into this one. And then Scent Strike. I thought this one was pretty fun. As a reaction, when you're the target of an attack and you can see the attacker, you can sense how an incoming attack moves through the ambient primal energies, predicting how best to dodge. The triggering attack targets your survival DC instead of your AC. So survival being able to replace stealth, you get a free expert in it. You're probably putting a lot of skills into that. If your survival DC is higher than your AC, which it's 10 plus your survival mod, you just get to use that instead. So here's some other interesting things with it. Since it's targeting a DC, a lot of debuffs to your AC don't apply. So being off guard, being frightened, though that might affect your DCs because it might impact skills. But anything that debuffs your AC would not be impacted by this, but you would still take the damage if you were off guard from like sneak attack, for example. So this is a pretty good way to just get a sudden high boost to your defense against something that, could be pretty lethal. You do also need to be a master in survival for this, but you're going to want to have that anyways because, that's what you're boosting your AC with. You get to grab Camouflage from the Ranger, Sneak Adept from the Rogue. So really combining 3 different archetypes plus some unique things into this dedication. And while it is built for an adventure path, honestly, there isn't too much to keep it out of most tables. The only prerequisite is you're trained in stealth and survival. So again, if you are just looking for some interesting wilderness archetype, came in this adventure path, and most would probably be none the wiser about it, and it's a pretty cool dedication. Let's see what else we got besides the dedication. A bunch of new equipment, arboreal wands, Canopy Bulwark, Greater Skitterknot. That's kind of a cool one. I got it in a game I'm playing in, and basically when you die, this little creature that's a talisman on your equipment bursts open, picks you up, and scuttles you away to safety. Feats, most of these feats were all belonging to the dedication. A few new hazards for you GMs out there, as well as some new monsters, all very forest themed. A very specific ritual, not super helpful, but you might get you some ideas to adapt it to your table. And then a new spell and a new trait, which is specific for this monster. Okay, not much, but a new archetype that if you're not paying close attention to adventure paths, you would have no idea as to why it popped up on Archives of Nethys. Moving through, so this is probably the second part of that adventure path. Some new deities, new druidic orders. So these are variants on the Leaf Order. A bunch of new equipment. I'm not going to go through all of that, but just there's a lot here. And then a bunch of feats. What are these? Because there's no new archetype in this one. So this is something for the kineticist. This one, so they're missing this trait, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to have the Ardande trait. So this is for a ancestry. This is a deviant trait, which if you're not familiar with deviant traits, these are story-derived problematic things that perhaps your characters have stumbled into, and they replace class feats that can be taken by any class. So they're very thematic, but there could be something in there that really makes sense for your game. Another deviant feat. This is a druid feat. This is another Ardande. Cultivation order, so druid feat. Deviant Feat, another one for that ancestry, and you kind of get the idea here. Another kineticist feat. So check into these. There might be things for your class that are new and you would have no otherwise be aware of as you're just scrolling through lists of things. And you know, if it's an older feat for a level that you're not anymore, but maybe it's more thematic, so you want to retrain into it, unless you're really pouring over your feats, you might miss it. Some new hazards for the GMs out there, some instincts. So this is some changes for barbarians, a new ritual, and a couple new spells. Let's see. The third installation of this adventure path. A couple diseases, that could be fun. Even more equipment, so lots of new equipment, some new monsters, and a couple new spells. Great. Curtain Call. So this is an adventure path that's all about the theater. So very thematic stuff in here, no doubt. A bunch of backgrounds. So if you're a character that wants to have a connection to the arts, to theater, to the town, maybe town troublemaker, these might be excellent backgrounds to help get the character you're trying to build off the ground. The first one is Stage Fright. Let's see what Stage Fright brings us. Some new equipment, couple feats. Now what's going on with feats? Is there a dedication here? I didn't see a new archetype. So this is for the acrobat or the celebrity dedication. They get a new feat. Again, acrobat, and then the gladiator dedication's getting this one. Acrobat or dandy gets fit for the role. A new one for the gladiator dedication. Celebrity or gladiator. Acrobat or celebrity. Acrobat or celebrity. So these are modifying existing archetypes to even give them more thematic things for this setting, which is a theater, I'm assuming, story that you're working your way through this adventure, but they're constantly modifying and adding on to the content of the game, and it can sometimes be a lot to keep up with. But yeah, looks like celebrity, acrobat, and gladiator seems to be the vast majority of these. And then a couple new monsters for the GMs out there to maybe check in if they would work for your games. Or, you know, another thing, maybe you look at what's coming available in this adventure path, and the adventure path, those features speak to you, and you want to pick up this adventure path and run it. That's another great resource you can gain from using this. Some more equipment, some new monsters, a ritual, and a few new spells. Resurrection Flood, the first part of it. A new archetype, the Tattooed Historian. Let's look into it. So this one is basically an archetype that revolves around keeping the history of your culture in tattoos across your body. And the dedication gives you a new item that's available from this adventure path, which is Storied Skin, which is a lore that you get to take. And you get a bonus when you can look at your own tattoos and remember the story and have a bonus to that lore trait. Level 2 feat, the Agent of All Holds. You're adept at leveraging this status as a lore keeper and showing off your tattoos to resolve conflicts, change minds, or distract others from a faux pas. You get a failure on a check rather than a critical failure if the triggering check was made against a creature with the orc trait, so it lets you better interact with other orcs. Inked Panoply, creature target with an attack. You can see the attacker. Your tattoos can briefly animate and extend from your skin, granting you a special shield bearer who protects you from harm. This is a reaction, and it expends one use of your storied skin, granting you a +1 circumstance bonus to AC. So that's pretty cool. Infused with Belkazan's Might. This is level 6. Your tattoos immortalize the conquest of orc war leaders. You can expend one use of your Storied Skin Living History ability to channel this power into your own weapon. Until the end of your next turn, you deal additional spirit damage with the weapon and unarmed attacks equal to 1, plus the number of tattooed historian feats you have. So a little bit of a bonus damage. 2 action for it. I don't know if that's super great, but it is definitely thematic. Inscribed with Elder's Deeds, level 6. Your tattoos commemorate unique exploits. According to Orc Legend, during your daily preparation, you can reconfigure part of your storied skin to depict a specific orc hero, granting you a first level ancestry feat with the orc trait until you prepare again. So that's cool. You just get a free first level orc trait, and some of those can be pretty useful. I'm curious, do you have to be an orc to take this dedication? You do not, but you need to be trained in orc lore or a related lore. So you have to be somehow invested in the culture. So I think that's pretty cool. Let's see, that was inscribed. And then last one, so not near as many in this one as we had in the other archetype that came out in these adventure paths, but the other one did borrow from a breadth of other classes. So I bet you these are about the same number of actually new feats. Your tattoos carry the strength of an innumerable horde. You can expend one use your storied skin. Living history, ability to animate your tattoos as ghostly assailants that swarm your foes. So the Pelennor Fields kind of vibes here. These spirits attack all foes in a 30-foot cone, dealing 46 spirit damage, and the damage is increased by 1d6. So that's not bad for a level 8 feat. Get a little bit of a cone AoE attack. Depending what you pair this up with, if you're orc, it's probably something pretty frontliney. That could be pretty solid. So we had the Tattooed Historian, a variety of new equipment, including those tattoos. Feats that all seem to mostly involved with that class. You do get a couple orc feats in here, a couple new monsters, and a new weapon, the Orc Skewer Maul. That just sounds ridiculous. So the Orc Skewer Maul, this is a combination of a spear and maul, so you can do bludgeoning or piercing damage. It has the brace trait. If you wield it in two hands, it comes up to 1d10, or you can use it one-handed. So that's a pretty good and versatile weapon if you are an orc. Some more equipment. You got a new companion, the War Pig. So if you've always wanted that animal pig companion, this is the adventure path for you. And then some new monsters for GMs to check in with. 209, you can now get a wyvern as an animal companion. So it is nice to see that Paizo is opening up the animal companions. One of my big complaints of moving from first edition to second is they seem to hate minions and animal companions. The rules still are not very big fans of them, but I am enjoying seeing them adding more to that space. A little bit of new equipment, a new ritual, and some spells. Pretty straightforward. Then we have the Spore War Player's Guide. So this has some backgrounds having to deal with whatever issues are going on in this story. It is very elven-centric. So Blight Survivor, Demon Hunted, Fiend Breaker Pilgrim, Portal Scholar, Student of Archery. Now, a lot of these are rare, so if you play at a table that really tunes into that, do run these by your GM, make sure they're fine with them. But again, always nice to have more options on the backgrounds to help you bring your story into your mechanics, because I feel that's when TTRPGs are at their best, when the game mechanics support the story you're telling. Let's see, 210, the first part of this adventure path, some equipment, feats, quite a few feats. These, if I remember right, are all elf feats. So if you're playing an elf right now and you want to see what new options are available, be sure to jump in here and check this out. But they are all elf ancestry feats from the number 210 release. The second book in this adventure path, some new equipment, a couple new monsters, and a few spells. Not a whole lot. Third part of the book, some equipment, a couple monsters, a new ritual, and a couple spells again. So not a whole lot. So you can see some of these, there's not really much in it for you to use, but some of them, it's a whole new archetype. It's a whole new breadth of feats for your ancestries. Lots of content update. Paizo is constantly giving us new content, and we should be very thankful of that. Last but not least on this update, Shades of Blood's player guide, which just has a few backgrounds in it that has to do with this adventure path. And I saw some scuttle that we're going to see some new archetypes and a whole new blood magic kind of system coming out of this. So kind of excited to see what that does, because I do have a very specific blood magic aspect to my own world in Eraneth, and I would love to not have to reinvent the wheel and have a great system to just plug right in. I will be doing a video on some other stuff I missed here as we scroll down here. Divine Mysteries and Rival Academies both came out. These are from the Lost Omens line, so have a lot more content in them. And if you haven't really checked that out, there is, I think, 5 or 6 archetypes each, several updates for classes, and a whole bunch of things like that. So keep an eye on those coming out in the next week or two as I catch up on much of the cool new stuff that has come out during my hiatus. I hope you guys have found this useful, and we'll keep an eye on things that come out through adventure paths that could augment your table. And if you like what we're doing here on the channel, please give a like and subscribe. Really do appreciate it. And I'm going to wish you a fantastic time on your 20-side adventures. We'll catch you next time.